Goal 2, understand how marketing developed as a part of business. People have a lot more choices today. A lot more choices today. The development of marketing has gone hand in hand with economic progress. The textbook says there have been times in history when people were self-sufficient. Being self-sufficient means you do not rely on others for the things you need to survive. Oh, look, here's a family of hunter-gatherers, ironically made by AI. Supposedly, those people were able to find or produce the food and materials needed for themselves and their families. I'm going to disprove that by showing you one image. Here's a chart of human population growth over time. You have 10,000 BC here, you have 2000 AD here. Around the year 2000, we were somewhere around 7 billion people. We're starting to push 8 billion now. Look at this spike. If we're talking about hunters and gatherers, we're talking about this right here. People didn't live as long. In one form or another, there would be a king. It wouldn't always be called a king, but people would go under a central leader, mostly for protection. All of the wealth in that society would be decided by the king. There were no Air Jordans. People were just trying to survive. So just to be clear, marketing was not needed in the era of nomads and self-sufficiency. Bartering. Some people who found they were not successful at being self-sufficient tried to find other ways to survive. They discovered that often when they did not have certain things they needed, other people did. If each person had something that the other valued, they were able to make an exchange. I'm good at growing apples, you're good at herding cattle. I'll trade you one cow for this many apples. That's bartering. Marketing was not needed in the era of human history when people began bartering. But there's another level to good at. There's mastery. Now, specialization of labor. People discovered that they had particular interests or skills in certain kinds of work, while they were not as good or were uninterested in other types of work. When people concentrated on the work they did well, they were able to accomplish much more than when they tried to do a variety of things. Concentrating on one thing or related activities so that they can be done well is known as specialization of labor. You specialize when you only do one thing. You've mastered it and you're very efficient at it. Marketing wasn't needed in this era either. Money systems. As specialization of labor became more common and a greater variety and quantity of products were available, bartering was not always possible. Not all people needed the products of others, and it was not always possible to reach agreement on what products were worth so they could be exchanged directly. To assist with the exchange, a money system was developed. A money system established the use of currency as a recognized medium of exchange. The invention of money was a huge turning point for society. You can't just use anything for money. If you look back in history, people used seashells as a currency to buy and trade things. The problem is there's such a huge supply that anybody who goes to the beach suddenly has a significant money supply. And you'll find out in any economics class, if there's too much money in an economy, that leads to massive inflation. Money needs to have these characteristics: durability, it has to last; portability, it has to be easy enough to carry. Look at this. While the cow is difficult to transport to the store, the currency can be easily put in my pocket. Divisibility, easily divided. Uniformity, everything is the same. Like $1 looks like $1, $5 looks like $5. Limited supply. In order to maintain its value, money must have a limited supply. And acceptability. People are agreeable to exchange it. Well, according to Google, coins were introduced as a method of payment around the 6th or 5th century BCE. So add 2,000 years to that, that actually might be 8,000 years ago. The invention of coins did not lead to the birth of marketing. But this next innovation is where marketing got started. Central markets. With many people producing more types of products and with people having money to purchase the items they needed, the demand for products increased. Locating and gathering all of the products people wanted and needed was a difficult process. Much time was spent traveling to sell and purchase products. To solve that problem, central markets were developed. A central market is a location where people bring products to be conveniently exchanged. Central markets were often located at places where many people traveled, such as where rivers or roads met. Towns and cities developed at those locations and became centers of trade. Developing locations where products could be bought and sold was another step in the development of marketing. I described them as eras earlier in the video, but what they really were steps. Self-sufficient people able to survive. People bartering, trading. I have one thing, I need another, let me trade you. Specialization of labor, mastery of making products, and of course selling them. That it's an extension of bartering. Money systems, development of money systems, development of central markets. And once you had money systems and central markets, that's where people tried to differentiate their products. And we're talking about even 2,000 years ago, people putting their initials in the bread that they made. Look at that, isn't that amazing? And you start to see containers with lettering on them from the person who made them. They wanted their customers back, and the first step in that is making a container that people can recognize. The word marketing comes from the cattle trade, when people who were trading cattle wanted to make their cattle look as healthy as possible so that people would pay top prices for them. And that is also where we get the term branding from. A brand was a recognizable symbol that was burned into the side of the cattle. Early marketing is what differentiated a product. It made people recognize what it was and where to get it. But it took human society getting to the point where they had currencies and central markets in order for marketing to begin. And you're about to see it has gone a long way from these early origins.